GR Toys is a relatively new company that's proven its intention to be taken seriously. Now first with their Spinosaurus, and then their insanely painted and detailed Dicraeosaurus. So as a fan of sauropods, when they announced a Dicraeosaurus, I was all excited. As per their modus operandi, 2 color variants were offered, and this time it wasn't a hard decision. Now based on the release images, I chose the green. There's just something about the dots on the brown that doesn't attract me, and I have fewer sauropods in green than I have in brown. I always like dinosaurs with some unique aspect that sets them apart from their relatives with very similar bow plans, and the dicraeosaurids are certainly unusual, having a relatively short neck, bifurcated neural spines, and smaller body sizes. More famous members like Amargasaurus and Bahadosaurus have been given good model treatments, but not the dinosaur that gave its name to the group, until now. This is the GR Toys Dicraeosaurus and measures about 38 centimeters or 15 inches. The size estimate is 12 to 14 meters or 39 to 46 feet. So 1 to 35 scale makes this a 13.3 meter or 43.5 foot adult, so right in the middle of that range. The first impression I got was there's a very yellow bias to this green, rather than the very dark impression I got from the initial images. You can see this further in terms of the orange fringing the top here. And also the transition into the tail tip, which is very reminiscent of the flamed Dicraeosaurus. And the shades incline towards olive or gold green. Now I like these patterns. You see from the dorsal ridge it extends down and forks into 2, and generally well faded into the surrounding. There are some with starker contrasts, like these wisps, which I find acceptable. And you can see how natural this spotting here looks too. And then there are these white speckles down the length of the animal, which lend added interest. In fact, as you can see in the fades here in the flank, the dark distal limbs, and of course the tail. And if we look at the underside, the predominantly naked pink, but still with tonal varieties, and you'll see there's more complexity to the paint scheme than you might expect, and perhaps this is something that will differentiate GR Toys from the rest. One nice thing is, this isn't as sticky as the Dicraeosaurus. Now the detail. We don't have the full skull, so Dicraeosaurus has often been reconstructed with a long, narrow, diplodocene look. Up close, I hope you can see the subtle texturing in the face. A neck. The well-painted eyes. And what looks like a kind of beak, which is unusual as so far only my Safari Camarasaurus has this. In general, the appendage proportions seem to agree with reconstructions I've seen, although profile-wise, I feel they could have made the sacral neural spines taller. the silhouette isn't what I expected for Dicraeosaurus. When we travel down, you can see how detailed the scales are, although they don't jump out the way the Carcharodontosaurus did. Now see the subtle differences as we go to the underside. Nice folds of skin here. And then further down the body. I really like the form of these interlocking scales here, forming a very pleasing mosaic. And as expected, tapering down in size and changing in character down the flank. The arms, again, look at these color fades in the forearm. Just very nice. Then the thighs and legs. And finally, of course, the tail. Now you can see the rather high spines here, although as I've mentioned, I feel the silhouette isn't quite right. And some little indentations, perhaps demarcating where the vertebrae might be. Interestingly, the nails are painted in the hand, but only at the very tip, perhaps suggesting a state where the non-thumb digits still had some vestigial separation. The scale detail on the belly. The overall pose is one of a slow amble, as befits a sauropod. And yet from the front, you can see a slant here from plain old boring verticality, which hints at the potential for more action. It's really a subtle thing that will set it apart from hundreds of sauropod poses I'm sure you've already seen. Now, some comparisons. First, the GR Toys Carcharodontosaurus, and I'll use the flame since their warm colours are closer than the blues to this Dicraeosaurus. And I think you can see that scale detail-wise, the Dicraeosaurus, while not as in your face, certainly still holds well. And next, some other Dicraeosaurids. Here is the 1:25 scale PNSO Amargasaurus. And the 1:35 scale Collectae Bahadasaurus. And of course, that scale is way from certain given its paltry remains. Let's throw in some other close to 1:35 scale sauropods. Here is the Eofauna Atlasaurus, which is 1:40 scale. And here the W Dragon Giraffatitan, which could be between 1:30 to 1:35 scale. So that's my review for the GR Toys Dicraeosaurus. I'm pretty pleased to finally have the dinosaur that gave its name to the clade, and together with my Amargasaurus and Bahadasaurus adds a crucial element that's been missing in my sauropod collection. With nice yet not exaggerated detail, a subtle paint application, and a good pose, this is one I'm very happy to have. I look forward to GR Toys' next offering, hopefully a ceratopsian or ankylosaur of some sort. Now, you guys have a great week ahead.